Story 1. Am I the a-hole for withdrawing my part of the cost of my sister's wedding? My 28 female baby sister, 23 female, is getting married in December. This is kind of important in our family right now because my dad passed away last year and she was the closest to him. She's feeling down because my sisters, I'm a triplet and I have an older sister, all of us are married, and I got the father-daughter dance. Our dad walked us down the aisle. He saw us graduate, etc., etc. So this is hitting home deep in our house. To make it up to her, we, the girls, our brothers aren't, decided to all pay for her wedding with no budget in dress and venue since my older sister and I have pretty good incomes along with our husbands. To set some background, my husband and my brother-in-law aren't on speaking terms on my brother-in-law's side because my husband dated one of his aunts, 30 female, 10 years ago, and things didn't end up well because my mother-in-law never approved the relationship, and now his aunt hates my husband for breaking her heart. Already we're into the family spaghetti now, aren't we? Ever since the beginning, my sister was bridezilla-ish, but we tried to justify it with dad not being around and mom being kind of a mess because my brother-in-law has both of his parents participating and my mom has to do the parental duties all alone, and it hurts her. We try to be understanding, but some things are just ridiculous. All of us were supposed to be bridesmaids, while my sister's BFF was maid of honor. The same with my brother-in-law. Since he's an only child, he opted to have our husbands as groomsmen and his BFF as best man. We were excited for the wedding, and we were feeling pretty proud of it because, taking out the bad moments, our sis looked happy. But in the new year, she informed me that she would rather not have my husband, who's also chipping in for the wedding, from the whole wedding. To clarify, he'll make my brother-in-law's family uncomfortable. From the whole wedding? Like at the whole wedding? I thought that was BS until my mom sided with them. They said my brother-in-law's aunt is one of the few family members he has left, and hence, her presence was more important and we might cause a scene. I said that we didn't give two cares about her. So I told her that if my husband was removed, then my part of the wedding was too, and she freaked out because I'm giving at least 25% of all cost plus the dress. She and my mom came at me because that was her day and I just had to go with it. I gave them 2 weeks to think about it. Either suck it up or plan something so my husband and her don't interact. I never ever suggest to them to uninvite her before pulling my money out of the table, but my mom, sister, and brother-in-law insist that I'm in the wrong. All of my other siblings are by my side. I think everybody's kind of the a-hole in here. I think everybody would do best just to stop and think about what, if you're really wanting to honor the father's memory, think about what the father would want. Would the father want all of this bickering and squabbling, and if you're not going to invite him or you're not going to invite her, I'm not going to put any money into this? I think everybody just needs to suck it up, the bride included. It doesn't sound like the husband, or it sounds like the person that passed away would put up with this kind of stuff. I don't know. What do you think?
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 2. AT&T tries to bilk me over $139. I actually bilked them out of $72,000. After my wife and I got married last year, we decided we should both get on the same phone plan. We went down to the AT&T store and met with a rep who told us we'd both be on an unlimited plan for $70 a month all in, including taxes and fees. I was very specific about getting the all-in price for the service. It seemed like a decent deal, so we signed up. 2 days later, I log into the website and see that there's already a bill for $139. I called a rep to see what's up, and they told me that between the activation fees, taxes, and surcharges, the bill was correct. I told them what the salesperson told me, and they basically told me to pound sand. I promptly told them I wanted to cancel the service and wanted the $139 waived. They said they could cancel the service but could not or would not waive the bill. They also told me that if I canceled immediately, my wife and I would lose our phone numbers, which is true. So I figure since I already have to pay for the month and I don't want to lose my phone number, I'll just get a new carrier and cancel when I'm ready. So I do my research and find Visible, which is excellent, and we make the switch. I call back to AT&T and inform them that we have switched carriers and want to cancel the service. I again ask for the refund. The rep informs me that since I've had the service for 4 days, that I'm not entitled to a refund. He tells me to read the fine print on the contract, which indeed tells me that I have 3 days to cancel for a full refund. I'm now fuming because the first customer service rep that I talked to on day 2 denied me a refund if I canceled. I asked for the next level of customer service rep, and they send me to a customer care and retention person. I explained the entire fiasco to him and how I feel that I have now been lied to twice by AT&T reps, sales rep and first CSR. He's a really cool guy and apologizes and says he'll take care of it and will completely waive the bill. I'm very thankful and hang up thinking that this is finally resolved. Fast forward a month and I get an AT&T bill in the mail saying my payment was not received and is now late. I again picked up the phone and called AT&T. I eventually make my way through 2 customer service reps until I get back to the customer care and retention department. This time, I did not have the chill dude. Instead, I got a very smarmy woman who said that the bill was due and I'd owe the entire amount. I asked her to please check the CSR notes and that the last guy told me he would waive the amount. She put me on a 10-minute silent hold and came back and said she'd escalate the matter to her supervisor. She said I should receive an email by the end of the week with a resolution. 2 weeks go by. No response. I called again. This time, I got a very nice lady that was sympathetic. She says she'll waive the bill. She comes back and tells me that she can't do anything because the bill has already been sent to collections. She said not to worry and that she'll send a letter to collections to have them waive the debt. I ask if this will go on my credit report, and she says no, and that they'll take care of it. 6 months later, I got a letter in the mail from Sequium Asset Solutions out of Georgia trying to collect on the $139. I immediately send them a letter via certified mail demanding that they verify the debt since it's obviously bad. I hear nothing for 2 months, and then I get an alert that I have a negative mark on my credit. I go in, and sure enough, Sequium, or whatever they're called, I'm not going to bother looking up their pronunciation. This is a credit agency anyway, has indicated that the amount is in collections. I immediately wrote letters to all 3 bureaus requesting that they remove the remark. A month goes by, and every single one of the bureaus removes the mark. Thank the deities. Another 3 months go by, and then I get a letter from Sunrise Credit Services in New York, again trying to collect on the debt. This is truly unbelievable because it appears that Sequium couldn't verify it, so instead of apologizing and waiving the debt, they just sold it off to another collection agency. I sent another certified letter to Sunrise demanding verification. I get nothing in reply. So far, they have not attempted to put a mark on my credit. That's where this part of this story ends. Who knows what will happen next? I could file a lawsuit, but the filing fee alone would be more than the amount owed. Here's the thing. I am not cash-strapped. I am blessed enough that I could easily pay the $139 without making a dent in my budget. I've lost 5 times that amount in hours spent on the phone and writing letters. But I am determined to go to the mat with AT&T on principle alone. This brings us to the revenge stage. You see, in addition to my day job as an attorney, I am an elected city councilman in my town. And when I was going over our monthly expenses, I noticed that we were paying AT&T close to $6,000 a month for our phones, internet, and TV services. We're a fairly small town, so it was pretty obvious that we were being bent over by these clowns and that we could save a ton of money by switching. I started working with our city manager and IT director on finding other solutions. We discovered that by switching to various carriers and providers that we could save half. I never would have looked that closely into our telecom expense had AT&T not jerked me around. 2 weeks later, 2 weeks ago, the resolution to switch was put on our meeting agenda and the council voted to pass it. We decided to completely cut ties with AT&T. Our city is saving a ton of money, getting better service, and with the money we saved from switching, we were able to hire another part-time animal shelter employee, which we desperately needed. I highly doubt our city would have considered switching if I didn't make such a stink about it. AT&T will end up losing hundreds of thousands of dollars over the coming years because of this. I hope it was worth it, AT&T. Well, good for this person for being able to resolve things and be able to switch over and get things straightened out. To me, it's a little bit concerning that just because this person was personally bilked over on this, that then he did something that would benefit the town, something that he's serving. It's kind of a mixed blessing here, but, glad he was able to stick it to AT&T. Story 3. Pyramid scheme scammer ends up paying in the end. About 6 or 7 years ago, I was trying to enlist in the military. I ended up not joining, but that's a story for another time. At this point, I was led to believe I was about 4 months away from leaving for boot camp. I was running out of savings and needing a part-time job for some spending cash while I waited around. So I did what any enterprising 20-something would do and searched Craigslist for jobs. I normally hate sales jobs, and especially those based on commissions, but figured it would be a great way to earn some extra cash in the short term. Found a few job listings that looked promising and put out some applications. A few days later, I received a call from David. He was opening up a new store and needed associates. He liked my resume and asked if I'd like to be available for an interview on Friday morning. I was very upfront with him and let him know that the distance was a bit more than I normally drive for a retail job and asked what he was offering for an hourly rate to see if it was worth the drive. He told me that they were planning on offering an hourly rate in the mid-teens along with commission. Seemed like an okay deal, so I agreed to be there Friday at 8 a.m. Friday arrives as a cold, rainy day. I wear a nice shirt and tie and drive in heavy traffic to the address David provided. I knew the area from a previous job and eventually found the strip mall I was looking for. However, I'm not seeing any signage for the company name that was listed. There is, however, one empty space with no signage and 2 people inside. Okay, maybe they haven't gotten the store set up yet. No big deal. I had arrived early, knowing how bad traffic can be in that area. While in my car, I witnessed a young lady in business casual dress remove a sign from the window saying, "Retail space for rent. Call 1-800-blah-blah." Okay, a little weird, but maybe it's the first day in the space. I walk in about 5 minutes early, and immediately my hogwash meter goes from yellow to the highest level Black Watch plaid. The tables are all simple plastic folding tables, the kind college kids would buy beer pong while on a shopping trip to Target. The walls are plastered with laminated charts featuring tons of dollar signs, smiling faces from stock photos, and an organizational chart showing an all too familiar shape. A pyramid. Deity, damn it. All right, might as well have fun for a while to wait out traffic going home. The young lady in the dress approaches me, introduces herself as Cindy. She welcomed me to company name and asked me to have a seat. She sat at her desk, another plastic table, and pretended to go through paperwork. However, she was really just shuffling papers around. We get to chatting, and I ask her how long she's worked for David. She says she's been his secretary for about 6 months and that I'm going to love it here. Eventually, a guy walks out of the back office, early 30s, clean cut, wearing an ill-fitting suit from JCPenney's. As he's walking over, all smiles, Cindy says, "Oh, Dennis, our new recruit is here." The guy stops in his tracks and gives her a cold stare. "It's David, Cindy. We've been over this." He turns back to me and gives me his brightest, hard-to-find good help these days smile. David sits me down and welcomes me, saying they're going to start with a group interview and has me sit down in a circle of chairs. Eventually, more people come in and sit down. David gets up and begins to thank us all for coming. He tells us about an exciting new opportunity from Cutco. He pulls out a set of knives and explains how with his company we can make as much money as we want, all while setting our own hours. He even pulls out a textbook saying how these companies' revolutionary tactics have even been featured in college textbooks. He opened up a page, his hand covering parts of it, making sure we could all clearly see the words Cutco in large letters on the page. Sad to say, a lot of the other interviewees were very impressed by this. One pregnant girl seemed very excited that she could work around her pregnancy and upcoming birth. David was going on and on about how much money he's made and how hard workers will rise to the top quickly. At this point, David said he needed to take a quick phone call and gave us 5 minutes to have some coffee, chit-chat, whatever. As he stepped away, he left his college textbook behind. Whoops! So I pick it up, find the earmarked page, and read. As I thought, it was all about pyramid schemes, and it had Cutco as one of the largest examples. It goes on to talk about how these are essentially scams, not economically viable, etc., etc. So I decided to share this all with the group. I explain how pyramid schemes work and how he's just scamming us. They seemed incredulous, so I said when David gets back to ask them about what we need to pay to get started. That finally got everyone to realize what was going on. David walks in a few minutes later, and one of the girls in the group asks David what we need to get started. "Well, all you need is your first set of knives to demonstrate. You can sell that on directly or have them order one and keep that as your demo kit. Doesn't matter. Just have to pay the startup fees for it." And that's when all hell broke loose. One kid started to get up and tell him to go fornicate himself, saying he's wasting our time and he's an a-hole for trying to pull this smeg. The pregnant girl is crying because she thought she found a place that would allow her to work despite being pregnant. David is clearly confused and flustered and asked who told them all this. When it became apparent I'm the wrench in the machine, David gets upset and starts telling me to leave. People are yelling at David. David is yelling at me. Cindy is trying to tell everyone she never met David before today and didn't know what this hogwash was. Eventually, we all walk out, leaving David behind. As I'm walking to the door, I see, leaning against the wall, the sign that was in the window before, saying retail space for rent, call 1-800 blah blah. As I get into my car, I dial the number. Eventually, I get through to a person and ask about the property for rent at the location of David's company. The nice lady on the phone apologized, saying they had just leased that property out. I asked if she knew how long the lease was for, as I was really interested in the property. She said she wasn't sure, they hadn't done the official paperwork yet. They were on their way to the space to sign everything with the leaseholder in a few hours. I told her everything that had just happened to me and about David using the space for a pyramid scheme. She got extremely upset, saying that this stuff happens all the time in the industry. They will go to sign, and at the last minute, the leaseholder will decide to opt out after using it for some fly-by-night operation. She thanked me for the info, and I thought that was the end of that. Or so I thought. A few weeks later, I received an email from David telling me how I ruined his life, about how the property management found out what was going on and weren't refunding his down payment on the space, saying he violated a clause in the paperwork he signed to hold the property, how he knew I was the one who called because I'm a terrible human being, etc., etc. Now he was out thousands for the space and supplies. How he only wanted to give us jobs and help us. It was a long, very angry email with several things said about me and my mother. So I called 1-800-BLAH-BLAH again, spoke with the same lady as I did before, and she was very interested in an email from David where he essentially admitted to what he was trying to do. Said it would help them all in the legal proceedings. And don't you know, I was more than happy to send that email along to her. Her lawyers said it should be an open and shut case at that point. I like to think I'm a helper. Wow. Amazing. All it took was just a little talking and a college textbook that was left behind. I think David was smart enough not to fall for this. No, not David, the person with the story. I think the person here was smart enough not to fall for this scheme. But it was great that he was able to convince everybody else that this was a scam as well. And just total mob scene completely. All because this guy left the textbook out. Amazing.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.